In the chaotic chapters of African history, few figures are as controversial, polarizing, and destructive as Charles MacArthur Ganke Taylor. He emerged as a liberator, promising to free Liberia from corruption, oppression, and nepotism. But instead of that, he became the architect of one of Africa's bloodiest civil wars, and is remembered today as the man whose hunger for power plunged an entire nation into despair and left scars still visible to this day. This is the story of Charles Taylor, but to understand it in full details, we have to go back to where it all began. Charles Taylor was born on January 28, 1948 in Athington, Liberia, a small town near Monrovia. His father, Nelson Taylor, was a teacher and judge of Americo-Liberian descent. His mother, Zoe, was a Gola from the rural Liberia. This mixed heritage gave Taylor a unique place in Liberia's deeply divided society, which was torn between the Americo-Liberian elite, descendants of freed American slaves, and the indigenous groups who made up the majority. Growing up, Taylor seemed intelligent, ambitious, and destined for something greater. Those who knew him as a young man recall a sharp mind and persuasive tongue, qualities that would later make him both a formidable politician and a dangerous warlord. In 1972, Charles Taylor left Liberia for the United States, where he studied at Bentley College in Massachusetts, earning a degree in economics. In America, he absorbed Western ideas of politics, economics, and power. But more importantly, he witnessed firsthand the privileges of democracy and prosperity, something Liberia's poor majority had long been denied. During his stay in the US, Taylor cultivated friendships, networks, and above all, an ambition for power. He married an American woman, had children, and worked briefly in Boston. But beneath the surface, Taylor was restless. He was not content to simply live in America. He dreamed of going back home to rule his people. Taylor returned to Liberia in the 1970s during the turbulent presidency of Samuel Doe, a military sergeant who had staged a bloody coup in the country. Doe had overthrown the Americo-Liberian elites and promised change, but his rule quickly turned authoritarian, violent, and ethnically divisive. Taylor, with his background, education, and charisma, rose quickly under Doe's regime. He was appointed head of the General Services Agency, controlling government procurements and finances. But his appetite for money and influence soon landed him into a serious trouble. By 1983, Taylor was accused of embezzling nearly $1 million. Facing charges, he fled back to the United States, but there, the law was waiting to catch up with him. In the US, Charles Taylor was arrested and imprisoned in Massachusetts while awaiting extradition to Liberia. But in a twist that sounds like it came straight from a Hollywood thriller, Taylor escaped from jail in 1985 under mysterious circumstances. To this day, theories abound. Some say he cut through prison bars with a hacksaw. Others whisper that he was deliberately allowed to escape by powerful forces who saw him as useful in reshaping Liberia's politics. What's certain is that Taylor vanished from American custody and reappeared years later, not as a fugitive, but as the leader of a rebel army. In December 1989, Charles Taylor launched an armed rebellion against Samuel Doe's government. Backed by fighters he had trained in Libya under Muammar Gaddafi, Taylor's MPFL, the National Patriotic Front of Liberia, swept into Liberia from Côte d'Ivoire. Taylor claimed he was fighting to free Liberia from Doe's tyranny. At first, many Liberians cheered, but soon the reality became clear. His forces unleashed a campaign of terror, mass killing, forced child soldiers, mutilations, and widespread atrocities. By 1990, Monrovia was under siege. Samuel Doe was captured by a rival rebel group, tortured and brutally murdered. Liberia descended into chaos never seen before. Taylor, however, tightened his grip, controlling most of the country's territory and its diamond-rich regions. The war would last for years, claiming lives of an estimated 250,000 people and displacing millions. In 1997, after years of bloodshed, Charles Taylor took a surprising turn. He ran for presidency under the slogan, "He killed my ma, he killed my pa, but I will vote for him." For many war-weary Liberians, the logic was chilling, but it was real. Better to give Taylor power through the ballot than risk more endless wars. Taylor won the election with an overwhelming majority. At last, Taylor, once a fugitive, then a warlord, was now president of Liberia. But instead of rebuilding, Taylor turned the presidency into a continuation of war by other means. His rule was marked by corruption, fear, and international smuggling. He fueled conflicts in neighboring Sierra Leone, supporting the infamous Revolutionary United Front's rebels, who became notorious for blood diamonds and hacking off civilian limbs. Taylor grew rich off diamonds and timber exports, while ordinary Liberians sank deeper into poverty. As Taylor's reputation as a warlord president spread, the world turned against him. The United Nations imposed sanctions. The United States and Britain pushed for his removal, and Liberians themselves grew restless. By 2003, another rebellion, known as Lord, the Liberians United for Reconciliation and Democracy, closed in on Monrovia. Taylor's grip on power had crumbled.
Could we continue fighting? Yes. But above all else, the people must matter.
Facing pressure from both rebels and international community, Taylor agreed to resign. In a tearful farewell speech, he declared, "God willing, I will be back." Exiled under agreement, Taylor fled to Nigeria, where he lived in relative comfort until the net finally closed on him. In 2006, under international pressure, Nigeria handed Taylor over to face justice. He was transferred to the Special Court for Sierra Leone, based in The Hague. There, Taylor was charged with war crimes and crimes against humanity for his role in fueling Sierra Leone's brutal civil war. In 2012, after a long trial, Charles Taylor was convicted on 11 counts of aiding and abetting terrorism, murder, rape, and enslavement.
Mr. Taylor, for the foregoing reasons, the trial chamber unanimously sentences you to a single term of imprisonment of 50 years for all of the counts on which you've been found guilty.
He was sentenced to 50 years in prison, making him the first African leader convicted of war crimes by an international tribunal. Charles Taylor remains one of the most divisive figures in African history. To some, he was a visionary who dared to challenge Liberia's entrenched Americo-Liberian elite. To many more, he was a ruthless opportunist who destroyed his country and profited from its suffering. His story is a cautionary tale of power, ambition, and betrayal. Once hailed as a savior, Taylor left behind a shattered Liberia, countless lives lost, and a name forever associated with bloodshed. Today, from his prison cell in the UK, Taylor's shadow still looms over Liberia, a reminder of how one man's hunger for power can bring a nation to its knees. This was the rise and fall of Charles Taylor, a man who promised freedom but delivered chaos, a leader who could have been a savior but instead became a destroyer, and a dictator whose legacy would forever haunt the land he once ruled. If you enjoyed the story of Charles Taylor, give us a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.